Hey, Genius Leaders, I'm back with a solo episode and I would like to talk about something that might be surprising, but hopefully it will make sense to you towards the end of the conversation. So, the topic for today is the good, the bad, and the ugly of the beginner's mindset. And I want to walk you through those three parts. So, first of all, we'll actually talk about what the beginner's mindset is very briefly, but then we'll talk about the good, so the benefits of having that beginner's mindset. Then we'll talk about the challenges that come with maintaining that beginner mindset when you try to do that. And then the ugly is when the beginner's mindset becomes a bit of a hindrance instead of being the benefit and the something that is powerful and positive only. So let's start with the positive, the definition and the positive. So beginner's mindset is defined or addressed as approaching life with curiosity and an openness to understand, to learn more, as if you were a beginner. So it's a bit of a philosophy, it's a mindset that we hope to have so that we can actually adjust. We don't have to be too rigid, especially in the dynamic world that we are facing right now or we're living in right now. It's important to be able to change our mind, to be able to consume more information and actually make some sense out of it and potentially update our beliefs, world beliefs, philosophies, etc., or our approaches to something specific in life or in general. So that is what open or beginner's mindset is trying to address. Help us be prepared for the dynamic context of the modern world. So what is the good stuff about the beginner's mindset? First of all, it's the improved learning. We want to be able to learn from what from the world that surrounds us, from the people who are around us, and from the information that we have access to nowadays. So the beginner's mindset emphasizes the value of continuously learning and growing, which is absolutely a necessity nowadays. No profession is one and done when you get the degree from the university, for example. And so much is happening right now with the technological development. So many professions will be changing a lot, and we do need to adjust to that, right? We need to be open to learning some new stuff, to be flexible, to adjust the ways of working of ours and our approaches in life in general. So the beginner's mindset is a positive thing there. It really helps us to have that continuous journey of learning and growing and helps us prepare ourselves for the next turn, for the next twist of the technological development of the needs that the world provides or puts on us. And it also keeps the mind active. If you're continuously learning something new, if you're developing yourself, if you're growing, that keeps you fresh. And hopefully you're kind of cognitively healthy longer in your time. So hopefully that actually expands your health span. So we talk about there is the term of lifespan, so how much are you actually living, how many years you have on Earth, but then also there is a health span. So someone can be still alive but not healthy anymore, and that is the potentially a problem for the aging generation or aging population, sorry, that a lot of people have extended their life expectancy, but not necessarily are staying healthy in the last years or even decades of their life. And having the beginner's mindset can be one of the things that actually help us stay cognitively healthy. Of course, there is so much that we still don't know about the diseases like Alzheimer's, etc. But some of the research is showing that those things, continuously learning, continuously improving ourselves, getting new skills, upskilling ourselves, really helps us to stay sharp with our minds longer in our lives. And who doesn't want that in life, right? The next benefit or the good part of the beginner's mindset is the adaptability. Again, that goes back to the world is complex and dynamic right now, and we need to be adaptable to survive and hopefully to thrive as well. So the beginner's mindset encourages the flexibility of thinking, and you really it's a must. That skill is a must nowadays. I was trying to say it somehow differently, softer, but that's actually just how it is, right? It's a must for us to be adaptable in the modern world. And it also helps us in adjusting to new roles. So whenever you are progressing in career and help, getting new responsibilities within your role, when you're changing industries potentially, but changing the roles and real or a whole career path, you need to adapt. You need to learn something, and being able to stay open to that, to not think, oh yeah, I already know enough. Why do I need to do something else? This attitude helps you to actually adjust to the new roles and responsibilities of yours in a smoother, healthier, more pleasant, more fun, hopefully way. So being open to learning continuously can really help us with that, with our career progression and the development of our roles, our professions, our industries. The next good thing about it is it fosters creativity and innovation. If you look at kids when they're learning, they're so creative. If you give them the space for that to learn by trial and error, they come up with ideas that you didn't really have spontaneously, wouldn't have spontaneously right now. And they're really a beautiful example of how if we have this openness to learn by trial, openness to develop ourselves by figuring things out, by failing on the journey, it's actually bringing brilliant results that are out of the box kind of thinking. And that is something that a lot of businesses necessary need right now to survive. They need to think out of the box. They need to take ideas from maybe different disciplines or different industries to bring them, mold them into something new for uh, transforming or forming even their industry or forming the new industries even. So again, being open to learning, being open to soaking in the information from different industries, from different experiences, can really help us with that creativity and innovation. And then the last point I want to mention in the good part, in the benefits of the openness, is building empathy and collaboration. And here, if you think about someone who has been a beginner and you have a closed mind, you feel like, okay, yeah, I know everything and I don't need to learn anything more, you forget how it is to be in that beginner space. And I have a very fresh example of that. I started biking as a commute 1.5 years ago, and I only learned to bike as an adult. I never did it back in Ukraine when I lived there, when I grew up, and it took me ages. It actually took me a decade to get comfortable on the bike. I didn't push myself super actively, and there were years when I would just try it 2 or 3 times. But that's the thing. From the time I got my first bike as a present from my now husband until the time that I actually started feeling comfortable on the bike and started using it on a daily basis, it took 10 years. And that was a quite a journey in the last 2 years of that, when I got a bit more active with that, where I pushed myself a bit more to try to get from point A point to point B and so on bike. My husband was a crucial part of that journey. How he was supportive, how he would give me tips, but how he would stay there with me. And when I would freak out about some part of the path of the biking, I would totally lose my shit. I would have meltdowns, I would start crying or stuff like that. And he was there for that. Even though he's been biking since a child, he's doing triathlons now, so he's racing on bikes and everything. So for him, it's nothing. And he still stayed with me. He held the space for me to learn because that's what we need to do. We need to fail ourselves forward. We need to get those experiences. We need to get those bumps on our bum or on our head to actually get the skill, to master the skill, to get to that proficiency on it. And the people who are supportive on that are really crucial in that process. So as a parent, I'm seeing that with my daughter, how much my support means to her and how it actually uh, helps her foster that creativity of hers, her curiosity, and improving her skills. And nowadays, when I bike, when I go through the same places that actually caused a meltdown for me earlier, I'm just laughing to myself, like, oh my God, this this probably was so ridiculous for him to experience and observe that I would just have a meltdown here, or here I would actually crash into the wall. There is so much space in this turn. Why would I freak out and crash into the wall? Which I did a couple of times in one specific place. He never laughed at me, he never ridiculed me, and that helped me to keep going. So this having the open mind to learning actually helps us in being empathetic towards the others when they are failing their way forward. So having the ability to put yourself in those shoes really helps. And for that, actually, it helps to be a beginner in something. So, can always having, and with always put an asterisk because we'll come to that in the ugly part. Always having something that you you're not confident in, you are learning because then the feeling is fresh and that gives you the ability to empathize with the others when they have the same feeling and when you need to support them in that. So being able to put yourself in that beginner's mindset really helps you be a better team player, be a better leader for the others, be a better empathetic parent, etc. So let's talk about the bad, so the challenges that come with really trying to maintain a beginner's mindset. So the first one I see is potential for overwhelm. When you're continuously approaching tasks with this novice perspective, it can be exhausting mentally uh, to always feel like you are not you're not good at that. So it could be good to put yourself in the beginner's mindset, but if you do it too much, it really can be overwhelming and it can also lead you to get the information overload. So when you are feeling like, okay, I'm a novice here, maybe you start consuming a lot of information. And nowadays, it's much easier to get an information overload rather than information starvation in some kind of way. So it's so easy to educate ourselves too much and get in that analysis paralysis in a way, which we'll get as well to in the ugly, that you just have too much information, you don't know how to deal with it, and it can again be exhausting for you mentally and emotionally when you feel like, okay, this is just too much for me to process, and I don't know how to get to the next step, especially how to get to the action. And also, if you're continuously living in the beginner's mindset, I feel like it can also that can also feed your imposter syndrome. When you get so used to the idea that you don't know well enough yet, you are a beginner, it can just erode your self-confidence and professional identity even sometimes. So we need to be careful where the balance goes, how much we actually use this mindset to help us learn and develop without eating up what we already have built, without us forgetting what we're good at already. Where are we experts? Where have we actually built that confidence with facts, with physical or like real achievements and accomplishments that we actually can be confident in ourselves and have that expert role and feel good in it without feeling like we are imposters there. So be aware of that. If you always or like if you often feel like you're never enough, if you feel this imposter syndrome, make this mental check for yourself. Have you somehow gone too far with the beginner's mindset? Have you gotten so used to the idea that you don't know enough yet that you're forgetting what you already know and how much that actually is? And maybe you need to stop learning for some time and start doing, or start packaging what you know, what you have learned already in a better way so that it actually helps you move forward. So those are just a couple of things that I wanted to start thinking about. Is it overwhelming me emotionally, mentally? And is it really eating up my self-confidence and identity, sense of professional identity? If yes, then maybe you need to pause with learning for a bit and really focus on what you already know, get a bit more rigid, get a bit more stable foundation with your current knowledge before you continue upskilling yourself. So, to the ugly part of the beginner's mindset, when it becomes actually a hurdle and a hindrance instead of being a pure benefit. I see that could be a trigger for stagnation in people's skill development. And that goes back to what I discussed in a couple of episodes back in the One Book Challenge episode, where we are learning so much when we are consuming so much information that we forget or don't create enough time and space for actually internalizing that knowledge and getting learning to apply it to whatever we do. So what I see as a hurdle for some people when they get stuck in the beginner's mindset in a bad way is that they learn so much that they get overwhelmed and they don't even start implementing. I love this word. I don't know where I don't remember where I've heard it for the first time, but procrastinating. So procrastinating. So when you actually procrastinate from action by learning, continuously learning, consuming more, buying more courses, getting more books, yada, yada, yada. So start thinking about that. Does it really develop your skills, whatever you're learning right now, however you are upskilling yourself for the beginner's mindset? Are you actually implementing that? So finding that balance between learning, getting the basics and the theory and the frameworks of some skill versus mastering that skill. You need both. It's not like you can forget about learning and just really master the skill. You do need some input. At least it's ridiculous to reinvent the wheel with whatever you do, whatever you learn. So that actually makes sense to acquire some knowledge, to acquire some learnings from people who've done it before and packaged it in somehow more digestible forms that you don't need to make all the mistakes yourself. But then need to start making your own mistakes and actually learning by practice and by doing to master the skill for real. The next ugly part is the analysis paralysis. I mentioned it a bit in the bad. When we have consumed so much information that we have so much practical knowledge that we actually don't know how the hell do we start implementing that. That's a real challenge for many people. When they have learned so much, they have acquired so much knowledge that it just becomes too difficult to see yourself um, acting upon that. And also, when you feel as a beginner, when you're stuck in that mindset, it can really discourage you from taking action because you can, again, it goes back to the self-confidence that has been eating up, that you hesitate uh, to take the action, to start practicing what you have learned already, because you feel that don't have enough expertise yet. And that in the professional environment, for example, can delay your decision making. And it also can prevent you from taking initiative. And those are crucial for to take the decision in the right time, even if it's the wrong decision later on. It can give you the competitive advantage because you've, through your own mistakes, have already gathered some super valuable information that will really help your company survive, for example, or get this competitive edge. And taking initiative, something that so many workplaces, or I would say all healthy workplaces, are valuing. So finding the way to do that when we don't feel like we have enough information, when we don't feel like we are truly experts in that, can can prevent you from progressing in your career and enjoying it and feeling like you are in the right space and you are developing and you're getting closer to who you ultimately want to be. So, with all that in mind, let's think about how can we actually balance that act of maintaining the beginner's mindset, but do it in a healthy way that does not damage us, our careers, our workplaces, our teams, our families, etc. So first, what we could do is setting clear goals. Uh, and by here, I mean being mindful that some goals are about learning, about acquiring some knowledge, about getting more information and data, versus some goals should be performance goals that you actually practice and you get to something in practice or to, yeah, you, you practice the skill and you get somewhere in practice and not in just theorizing that. So really be mindful when you look at your goals, whether you set it for your year, for your quarter, for your month, for your week, for the day even. Is there a balance there? Are you only like focusing on learning? Are you only focusing on performing? Is there a balance there? That can just this sanity check can help you a lot to balance those and make sure that you are learning, you are leveling yourself up, and you do it both in both dimensions, the theoretical kind of dimension of learning and acquiring the knowledge versus the practical one of actually mastering the skills. And just be mindful that it's okay that you're going in the deep learning phase. Of course, it depends as well on how you learn. For example, some people need a lot of information first to make up their mind of how they're going to start practicing. That's, for example, me. I consume a lot of information first, and then I just close all the books, unfollow the podcasts, and I start doing the stuff. So for me, those are two different phases for whatever I do. Some other people, they just start iterating like in a very small steps of those both merging them together. So finding your way of how you learn, how you up level yourself, how does it work for you to acquire new skills and practice them and master them is a very important part. And then accepting your way as your norm is very important as well, so that you know, like, okay, this is how I function. I do need to go all in into learning right now. Then I'll go all in into practicing that. Or I need to balance those out throughout the day, etc. Finding your vibe and your rhythm with that will help you a lot in actually maintaining healthy beginner's mindset. The second thing I cannot emphasize enough is actually seeking feedback and mentorship. You know that I talk a lot about how important it is for us to not stay silent, not stay in silos and alone with our journeys. I usually talk about that, about the dark parts of it, but also the beautiful parts of our journey, the wins. We do need to share those. And the same comes to our learning. Regular feedback can really enhance the actual competence of yours and help you get out of focusing on perceived incompetence. That goes back to the our talk about the self confidence issues and the imposter syndrome. So when you have learned too much and you just think, okay, you still don't know enough, getting someone from outside reminding you how much you already know or how you're acting right now, what you your skills are, how you're performing, how what kind of value you're bringing, those things can really help you snap out of the unhealthy uh, progress to learning phase, so to say, or unhealthy spiral of self-doubt and stuff, and actually get into the action again. So think about that. Where can you get that feedback? Or what kind of mentors can you seek that can help you provide a realistic perspective on the growth and development? Because you might have a lot of ideas how you want to grow, but it can be unrealistic for your career right now. It could be unrealistic resource-wise, or that you don't have enough time for all of those. And a skillful mentor, a coach, can help you uh, balance those things out and plan intentionally based on their experiences. The next thing I want to emphasize is how important it is to celebrate the achievements and your milestones. We do it way too little. I really need to work on that with some of my clients, how much importance that is for our energy, for our confidence to celebrate what we have achieved. Because let's face it, you'll never reach 100% ever. No matter how ambitious, how productive you are, how long you live, you'll never reach everything. You'll never learn everything that you want to learn and master all the skills that you want to master just because there is just way too much in this life. So we really need to get into this mode of acknowledging and celebrating proficiency and mastery of ours in at every stage of it. So learning to do one thing. I'm again going back to the biking. It's the same for me. I come to home and now I'm sharing a new I call it like new level unlocked, and I'm saying like, oh, today I managed to take my gloves off while biking and put them in the back pocket of my rucksack while continuing biking. And then a couple of weeks later, I come home and say, hey, today I actually managed to get my gloves out of the pocket and putting them on while biking. I talk about those things. I celebrate them. This is a point of discussion during the dinner uh, in my family because for me it's important. Like I don't have a goal of biking Tour de France in my life. I want to use it for the daily um, as a daily commuting and enjoy it. And this joy comes from me realizing that some things are achieved right now. It's the same. At some point, I realized like, okay, I don't need to count anymore, because in the beginning when I started commuting in spring last year, I really literally every single time I had to start on a bike. I had to stand there, one foot on the pedal, the other one on the ground, and I would say three, two, one, push. I literally had to do that. I had to count down for myself to actually get on the fucking bike and start pedaling because I was afraid. It was scary. I was good enough at that, but it was still damn scary. And at some point I realized like, hey, I'm actually not doing it anymore. I just get on the bike and start going. Nowadays it's not a big at all, but I really celebrate it, and sometimes I still go back to that, even though it's been a year already or more than a year since I'm not doing it. But it's still a reminder for me to go back to that and like, hey, you used to do it every single time. Now you don't need to do it at all. So pat yourself on the shoulder, Anna. You've done it. You've done it, and it's good. So keep noticing those new achievements of yours and the progress that you have, and celebrate it. It doesn't take away ambition. I guarantee to you. I really promise. It does not take away your ambition. It helps you recognize the growth and build your confidence and keep having that momentum and energy that will help you continue on that journey of learning and improving. And then last one is a bit of kind of putting the ribbon around all this, kind of bringing it together, is just being mindful and aware of when it is valuable to be in that beginner's mindset and when it can become a barrier. So really just be aware of that. Um, are you always pushing yourself? Do you, as soon as you have mastered some skill, take a new, even if it's a free time, hobbies, as soon as you have reached a good level of something, you drop it, you forget about it, and you go to the next thing to start from scratch and have that steep learning curve. Fantastic. But can you still celebrate that you've mastered the previous skill? Can you give yourself the credit for the persistence that you have had for your passion for something, so that actually you keep getting the energy from that skill and confidence as well? And just a general wrap up here is to practice mindfulness in general. Be aware of your patterns, be aware of what you do, your thoughts, your actions, so that you actually go through the life not on the autopilot, but being in the passenger seat, but also driving at the speed that is relevant to you, that is adequate for you in this chapter of your life, that you don't miss the beautiful parts of the journey, that you actually get to enjoy the scenery around you, that you get to stop at those lovely spots and create the experiences and memories, make memories with the dear ones that will make this journey memorable, will make it worth the drive, so to say, will make it worth all the resources that you put into it. So stay active, stay mindful about what are you doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and hopefully that will help you enjoy the the journey. Whether you are a beginner in something or a total expert, and own it fully. So I hope this brought you some new ideas for you. I hope you got some ideas of or understanding of, hi, hey, I actually have been doing it too much here, or I haven't been doing it enough there, and you'll take some action based on those insights for yourself. That you will master this beginner's mindset in a way that will really, really, really value you, bring value to you and make it work for you without hurting you, overwhelming you, making you more anxious, and eating up your self-confidence. So go and either start something new, start learning some skill, or maybe pause that and actually just lean into your expertise and something that you are good on based on what your insights have been from the podcast. And enjoy whatever of those you choose, enjoy them. And as always, I want to remind you that I see you, I feel you, I love you. And I do believe that you can master the beginner's mindset and overcome all the challenges that can potentially come with that. Be mindful about it and enjoy your ride. See you next week.